Welcome to another edition of Northwestern Outdoors Radio, the weekly show covering the great outdoors in the Pacific Northwest and Rocky Mountain West. Fishing, hunting, conservation, recreation, and destinations, we cover that and more. Northwestern Outdoors is brought to you by Max Lure, Northeast Montana's Missouri River Country, the Wallowa County Chamber of Commerce, and the Northern Pike Minnow Sport Reward Fishery Program. Now, let's see what's in store this week. Here's your host, John Kruse.
Welcome aboard. I'm glad you're here. Spring has officially sprung, and I hope that you've been able to spend some time outdoors. I know my fiance and I spent a little time wildlife watching in the desert wildlife area in eastern Washington this past weekend. Got to see some sandhill cranes and, of course, lots of waterfowl, ducks and geese, as well as some hawks, songbirds, mule deer, and more. You know, this is really a great time of year for wildlife watching, especially at our wildlife refuges around the greater Northwest. A lot of birds are starting to make the migration back, and birdsong literally fills the air. You know, last week I got to attend the Bighorn Outdoor Adventure Show in Spokane. It's a big fundraiser for the Inland Northwest Wildlife Council, an organization that does some great work lobbying for hunters, building disabled access blinds for hunters, and they even have a pheasant chick program where you can buy pheasant chicks, both hens and roosters, at a discounted rate, raise them and release them on your own land or select public land. We're going to talk to somebody from the council who's been doing just that. That is Cassie Beckley, and I think you might want to get involved with this, especially if you have a little land. Somebody else we're going to talk to today is Josh Contois. He is the manager for the Inland Northwest Wildlife Refuge Complex. This includes 3 refuges. One of them is Turnbull National Wildlife Refuge. It's located just south of Cheney, also southeast of Spokane, one I became very familiar with during my college days at Eastern Washington University. He'll also tell you about the Little Pond Array National Wildlife Refuge near Colville, which is a very unique property, and about the Kootenai National Wildlife Refuge in the panhandle of Idaho, not far from Bonners Ferry. If you're into wildlife watching, whether from a vehicle or on the trail hiking, you're going to want to visit these places. Bob Loomis will be joining us for an extended Max Minute today. The topic, early spring walleye. How do you go about catching them? Bob's got just the lure for you that's going to work great. After we talk to Bob, we're going to talk to TJ Hoffheins. He's with the Hoyt Northwest Mountain Challenge. Now, this is basically 3 3-day archery events taking place at ski resorts in Idaho, in Oregon, and Washington. And no matter what your skill level is, these look like they're going to be all sorts of fun. The cost to attend is very low, $80 for 3 days, which includes free camping. Who else are we talking to today? How about Dave Calhoun, longtime owner of Northwest Rods? He was based in Kalama, Washington for years, but he has moved his operation to Blanchard, Idaho. Dave's going to explain why he did this, and we'll give you a hint here. It has to do with the business environment of Washington State versus Idaho. Dave's also going to tell you about some new rods he's building and how he's really found a niche there that's working out for both him and his customers. One other thing I should mention about Northwest Rods, they are all made right here in the USA. Throw in a preview of upcoming events in April, and I'd say we've got a pretty darn good show coming your way. So let's kick things off, as we always do, with another edition of Bird Note.
This is Bird Note. A robin tugging an earthworm from the ground is a symbol of spring. But that worm it's eating hasn't always been here. When glaciers pushed south into what is now the U.S., around 20,000 years ago, they scraped off the soil layer and spelled the end of native earthworms, except in the southern states. So that earthworm plucked by the robin is probably a relatively new arrival, most likely a species Europeans conveyed to the Americas in plant soil or in the ballast of ships. So if not earthworms, what were robins feeding their chicks before the Europeans arrived? Well, probably some of the more than 100 kinds of insects and other invertebrates, as well as berries that robins are known to eat. Robins prefer to forage in short grass to avoid potential predators, but after the last ice sheets melted back, where was the short grass they liked? One speculation is that prehistoric bison, horses, and mammoths grazed heavily in places, creating robin-friendly landscapes. Just as robins now share pastures with cows, perhaps 15,000 years ago, they hopped among giant bison or woolly mammoths. It's fun to picture, at least. For BirdNote, I'm Mary McCann.
BirdNote is proud to share its storytelling with fans of Northwestern Outdoors Radio. You can help inspire more people to care about the natural world by making a tax-deductible donation at birdnote.org. Support BirdNote today with a gift of any amount at birdnote.org.
Did you know we actually have a sponsorship opportunity available for this show? That's right. You can be a sponsor of Northwestern Outdoors Radio, reaching thousands of listeners every week, tuning in to 69 stations in 7 states. If you have a business that caters to outdoors enthusiasts, this is the platform for you, and you're going to find it's much more affordable than you think. Contact me through my website at northwesternoutdoors.com, and let's get a conversation started. That's northwesternoutdoors.com.
Public lands and waters are integral to our outdoor heritage. Become a member of Backcountry Hunters and Anglers and stand up for our public lands and waters. Visit backcountryhunters.org today.
You're back here on Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Kruse. We are broadcasting from the Bighorn Outdoor Adventure Show. You might hear a little music in the background from the speakers, but never mind that. We're at the Inland Northwest National Wildlife Refuge Complex booth, and this complex is managed by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. They've got 3 different refuges here. We're going to talk about all 3 of them. With us here to tell you more is the Visitor Service Manager, Josh Contois. Josh, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So you've got 3 refuges, Turnbull, Kootenai, and Little Pond Array. We'll break them down one by one, and we'll start off with one that is near and dear to my heart, Turnbull National Wildlife Refuge. I went to Eastern Washington University in Cheney, and that one's just a short either bicycle ride or drive away to the south, and it's this channeled scablands area that's just full of wildlife.
Absolutely. So the refuge, as you mentioned, is formed with a combination of the channeled scablands and thyme. And so we have over 300 unique wetlands out there that provide excellent habitat for migratory birds and other wildlife.
You know, I'm dating myself here. 40 years ago, back when I was in ROTC and a cadet at Eastern Washington University, we used to do land navigation exercises down there. They'd set up points. We'd have to go find them at the different little hills or channeled scablands, and it's a great way to explore the refuge. So let's talk about some of the wildlife that's at the refuge. And I guess we'll start off with waterfowl, because I'm seeing a lot of pictures here at the booth, and I know for a fact there are a lot of waterfowl out there. What are some of the species people like to see?
So Turnbull was established as a migratory waterfowl refuge. It was actually purchased using conservation money from the federal duck stamp program. And so a lot of our visitors do come to see the variety of waterfowl out there. Some of the most common ones people are going to see include mallards. Right now we have things like ringneck ducks, pintails, widgeon. But what's probably the most iconic for folks to come see are the swans. So we get trumpeter swans and tundra swans, and every year that is a real draw for a lot of our visitors. And I'm sure many visitors know the story of Solo, the trumpeter swan, that coming back year after year until and always had a mate and a partner because they're monogamous birds. Until one year his mate was no longer there, and so for many years he was solo, and he got the name. And while Solo is no longer with us, his progeny still come back to the refuge every year.
Oh, that is a great story. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit more about the refuge in terms of exploring it. Now, there's an auto tour route. I know that. And how long does it usually take to travel that?
So it's a 5.5-mile auto tour route, and it can be as long as short as you want. There's a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit. Most folks tend to go a lot slower because they're out there looking for wildlife, especially our porcupine and our moose. So I would budget at least an hour to spend some quality time out there. There's a lot of spots to stop for overlooks for wetlands and shorter trails, longer trails, and it's just a great opportunity to get out and really explore those channeled scablands.
Let's talk about hiking trails. Again, I'm going back 40 years. You actually did have some established hiking trails. Do you still have those?
Yep, we have about 10 miles of trails out at Turnbull. The most popular is the Pine Lakes Loop. It's about 1.25 miles paved loop right near our headquarters. And so most folks go out there. It's a great, flat, easy trail. Usually sightings of waterfowl and sometimes coyote, sometimes moose, sometimes porcupine. So it's a really good spot.
There you go. All right. Well, that's refuge number 1, Turnbull National Wildlife Refuge. Let's head to the Kootenai National Wildlife Refuge near Bonners Ferry in the Panhandle of Idaho. What are folks going to find there?
So that is another migratory bird refuge, and there is fantastic opportunity for waterfowl, not just observation, but it's also a great duck hunting spot too. And so you'll see anything from the gadwalls, you'll see ringnecks, you'll see mallards, pintails. There's a great breeding spot for pintails, but some of the more exciting birds people tend to see out there are not waterfowl, things like sandhill cranes. We had a nesting pair out there last year, and it's a pretty reliable viewing spot for bald eagles as well.
Let's talk about this with the refuges because, I was up at Bowdoin National Wildlife Refuge in northeast Montana, and there's a section that's set apart for hunting. There's a section that's not. And some refuges, and correct me if I'm wrong, Turnbull does not allow hunting.
It does.
Oh, then I'm wrong on that count too. Okay. So aren't there refuges that allow no hunting?
It's a mix. It depends on the purpose of the refuge. So refuges are established for wildlife first that are closed by default and must open by a refuge manager, and they are governed by the National Wildlife Improvement Act of 1997, which identifies 6 priority public uses for wildlife refuges. And those are hunting and fishing, wildlife observation, wildlife photography, environmental education, and interpretation. And so if a refuge is found compatible with one of those activities, it's open to those activities. And, hunting and fishing are traditional activities. And so given previous administrations and current administration's priorities, we try and open and make hunting as accessible as possible and fishing when it is compatible with those refuges and their purposes.
All right. Well, thanks for breaking that down. And folks, for the record, 40 years ago, there was no hunting in Turnbull National Wildlife Refuge.
Yes, that is a comparatively newer thing. So at Turnbull, there is a lottery elk hunt that's managed by the state. We have a fall turkey hunt that is a first come, first served. You reserve online. And then we have a youth waterfowl hunt as well at Turnbull.
Great opportunities. All right, we got one left to cover. And this is a unique National Wildlife Refuge because unlike the others where there's a lot of wetlands, well, this one's got wetlands, but it's also got a lot of woods. That's the Little Pend Oreille National Wildlife Refuge not far from Colville.
That's correct. So the Little Pend Oreille Refuge is the largest in the complex at about 46,000 acres, and it is the only montane forested refuge in the National Wildlife Refuge system. And so you're going to find elevations ranging from 2,000 feet to over 5,000 feet, which provides for really unique forest zones and forest composition types. So you'll find everything from larch to pine to cedar to Doug fir. Creates a really wonderful habitat for, again, migratory birds, but in this sense, it's songbirds or passerine birds. And so some of the more exciting species people might encounter out there, the pileated woodpecker. It's become kind of the icon, the symbol for the refuge. Flammulated owls, these small owls out there that people are really excited to see. And then the past couple of years, we've had some nesting bald eagles and peregrine falcons.
Very interesting. I mean, I love peregrines, but I'm used to seeing those on like rocky structures, like at Yaquina Bay over on the Oregon coast. Where are they nesting at that refuge?
So there are some rocky cliffs down on the southern part of the refuge. And actually, it's been interesting because in the past, they have been nesting not far from an existing bald eagle nest. And those two birds don't tend to get along together. And so there has been a little bit of confrontation between the nesting pairs in past seasons.
Fascinating stuff. In terms of exploring Little Pend Oreille, what are the opportunities? Hiking trails? Is there also an auto route?
Yep, there's a scenic auto tour route through there. We also have several campgrounds where folks can actually come out. If they want to hunt and camp that way and disperse camp, they can. If they want to come out and camp for the weekend, that's possible. We've got different fishing opportunities at Potter's Pond, Bailey's Lake. Bear Creek is a great trout fishing opportunity. There's plenty of hiking trails out there. The Mill Butte Trail right by headquarters is a really popular spot. So there's a lot of recreation opportunities over at the Little Pend Oreille.
All right. One last thing we should mention. You've got a big event coming up April 26th from 9 a.m. to noon at the Turnbull National Wildlife Refuge. What's that all about?
So that is our annual Earth Fest. We've been putting this on for the past couple of years in partnership with the Lands Council. And so the past couple of years, we've been focusing on tree potting. We get about 6,000 to 7,000 bare root trees every year that we use for restoration purposes. And we really need the public's help to get these into pots and to mature out over the summer before we do our fall tree planting. And so this event, we're going to be planting last year's holdovers. We're going to be potting the new trees. We're going to be removing some of the exclusionary fences around the old trees that we planted. And this year is really special. We have a lot of special guests and vendors that are going to be out there. So Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, we're going to have the Spokane Conservation District. The Spokane Tribe is going to be out there. We're going to have just a lot of vendors and booths. Washington State Parks comes to mind. And then the Friends of Turnbull National Wildlife Refuge are going to be providing a lunch of burgers and hot dogs for everybody as well.
Mark your calendar, April 26th for Turnbull National Wildlife Refuge. Head to the Visitor Center between 9 a.m. and noon. Do a little work and get fed and enjoy everything the refuge has to offer. If folks want to find out more about visiting any of these refuges, what's the website they should go to?
They can just Google any of our refuge names, Turnbull National Wildlife Refuge, Kootenai National Wildlife Refuge, or the Little Pend Oreille National Wildlife Refuge.
There's some great places to explore here, especially if you're a wildlife watcher or an angler or a hunter here in the Inland Northwest. So take advantage of it this spring, this summer, and this fall. Josh, thanks so much for sharing this with us today on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
I'm really glad to be here. Thank you very much.
Go fishing, help salmon, and make money. You can do it through September 30th by catching northern pike minnow and turning them in for cash. Here's how it works. First, register at a designated station on the Columbia or Snake River. Then, go fishing. At the end of the day, turn in any pike minnow you catch 9 inches or longer and look for the ones with tags worth $500. You'll get vouchers for those pike minnow you turn in, and you mail those in for cash. Find out more at pikeminnow.org.
Did you know we actually have a sponsorship opportunity available for this show? That's right. You can be a sponsor of Northwestern Outdoors Radio, reaching thousands of listeners every week, tuning in to 69 stations in 7 states. If you have a business that caters to outdoors enthusiasts, this is the platform for you, and you're going to find it's much more affordable than you think. Contact me through my website at northwesternoutdoors.com, and let's get a conversation started. That's northwesternoutdoors.com.
Natural wonders, beaches, and coves, majestic forests, and scenic vistas are waiting for you at the Tillamook Coast. Lace up your hiking boots, grab your camera, and come to Northwest Oregon. Find out more at tillamookcoast.com.
Welcome back to Northwestern Outdoors Radio and to an extended Max Minute brought to you by Max Lure.
You know what time it is? It is once again time for an extended Max Minute with Max Lure. With us again is Bob Loomis. Bob, always great to have you on the show.
Well, I appreciate it very much, John.
So it is springtime. We are talking end of March, early April. Let's talk about walleye fishing in lakes and reservoirs around the Northwest.
Well, you know, John, this time of the year, one of my favorite lures to fish, especially on the Columbia, is the tried and true wally pop. You know, with the high-colored, high UV surgical tubing, which creates buoyancy, as well as a pill float in there, you get a crankbait-style movement on that lure. And when you're slow trolling, having that movement, it's basically with all of the buoyancy in it, it keeps it up off the bottom, as well as giving that crankbait-type movement. And you're slow trolling early in the season like this, it works fantastic. Plus, it's a larger presentation and works really, really well in attracting fish and triggering fish to bite.
You know, something I didn't know until a couple of years ago when you told me about this with the Wally Pop is that it's also a great chamber to inject scent into.
Absolutely. You can pull the center tapered bead out in the top, fill it up with scent, put the bead back in, and it will continually leak scent.
So I'm guessing when the waters are a little murky with spring runoff, that chartreuse pattern with that green and chartreuse color is a good bet. When the water's a little clearer, what do you like to use?
Well, I like using more muted colors, the purples, blacks, things of that nature, the darker greens, just because of the fact that most of this tubing is high UV tubing, so it's going to show itself very, very well. But it also, you want it to look or basically creating matching the hatch type situation. All of those bait fish are black on top, white on the bottom. Your crawdads are darker greens, darker blacks, when they first come out of the mud. So I like going to a little bit more muted patterns later on in the season.
Well, there you go, folks. Whether you're fishing the Columbia or Snake Rivers or fishing a reservoir here in the Northwest, tie on a wally pop, do a slow troll, and get ready for some bites for those walleye. Thanks as always, Bob.
Thank you, John.
Want to put a smile on your face? Start off by putting a smile blade from Max Lure Company on your line. Max smile blades come in different sizes and spin at slow speeds, not like those metal blades on other lures. Buy them separately or on ready-made rigs like the wedding ring spinner, double whammy, wally pop, and more. Smile blades work for trout, bass, walleye, as well as other species, and when that fish hits, you'll have a grin on your face that won't go away. The Smile Blade, only from Max Lure Company.
Are you an outfitter, sporting goods retailer, boat dealer, or someone else in the outdoors industry? If you are, you know targeted advertising works best, and what would work better than advertising with America Outdoors Radio? Our hour-long show is heard throughout Seattle, Everett, and the East Side every Saturday morning, and your message will be heard there too. Want to find out more? Contact me, John Kruse, through my website at AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. Next up on Northwestern Outdoors Radio, we got more audio recorded at the Bighorn Outdoor Adventure Show. We got TJ Hoffheins with us, and he is with the Hoyt Archery Northwest Mountain Challenge. It's an event that's taking place in 3 locations this summer. TJ, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
So we talked a little bit about this at another sportsman show. Why don't you go ahead and explain what these archery shoots are all about?
Sure. Yeah. It's a passion. It's fun. You know, if you're into archery and shooting a bow, you know that this is more of a lifestyle than anything. So what we do is we put on 3 competitive and fun shoots at ski resorts throughout the Northwest. So we actually call it the Triple Crown Hoyt Northwest Mountain Challenge. And we put on an event at Tamarack. So that is going to be June 27th through the 29th.
And where is Tamarack?
Tamarack is just outside of Donnelly, Idaho, just south of McCall.
And then July 11th through 13th, you've got one at Hoodoo in Central Oregon.
Correct, yeah. So Hoodoo is our biggest event that we put on through the year. It's a great corridor for us on right along that highway there at Hoodoo Ski Resort. It's extremely fun and exciting. You ride the ski lifts up, and then you kind of shoot your way down. And then we also have extreme courses. So we put on courses for the entire family. And it's a great time for everybody at every skill level. Doesn't matter what you are. If you're a professional down to a novice, you can come and shoot our shoot. And so at Hoodoo this year, it's July 11th through the 13th at Hoodoo.
And then the last one, July 25th through the 27th, Stevens Pass. This will be of interest to our Puget Sound area archers as well as our Central Washington archers.
Yeah, Stevens Pass. What a great event. What a great location. We love working with the staff there at Stevens Pass. My wife obviously loves Leavenworth, and they go down there with the kids and do all that good stuff in the Christmas town. But yes, and that's the other thing is the Hoyt Northwest Mountain Challenge, we're a family-owned company. So I've got all the way down to my kids helping out. We have a bunch of friends that help out. And, you know, a lot of people have this perception we're this big, wide, huge company organization. And we do it. We love it. And we put on a great event, a great show. And yeah, Stevens Pass, that is going to be July 25th through the 27th. And it's our last one. It's a big kickoff. We always have a great time with that. And we also not only do events during the day, we also have shoots at night as well.
Let's go ahead and walk through exactly what these events look like. So they're all 3-day events. What happens day 1?
So day 1 is Friday, and that one is the mountain gets open. The whole mountain's open all day long. Lifts usually close around 6 o'clock. A little bit kind of depends on the mountain and what time they close. But from 6 o'clock until into the evening, we kind of have a hangout. We kind of go back to the trailers. We have a meet and greet and kind of come meet all of us, and we have hangouts at the trailers, get some food, and then right when it starts getting dark, we go out and we do what's called the lighted knock shoot. So we have flashlights, we have lighted knocks on the arrows, and then people have the lighted lights, you know, that you crack and they glow and stuff like that, the glow stick. We also call it the glow stick shoot as well. But it's super fun. We do that for safety reasons, obviously, so we can see everyone at night. And we go out there and it's like shooting, it's like Star Wars at night. There's a bunch of lasers, different colors going. So it's super fun.
All right. So next day, Saturday, I'm guessing that's a big day.
Saturday is the main event day. Yes, that's when the competition starts. That's when we have all the shooters there. It's a full-on day. And the great thing with Saturday is not only do we have like events throughout the whole day, we have giveaways throughout the whole day, random giveaways, but into the evening, we do the whole get together with getting into our raffles. We do a movie Under the Stars as well. So a big bow hunting movies and films that we do through Under the Stars on Saturday night. And it's a great feeling opportunity. We have non-for-profits that we donate to every year. The money gets raised actually through the raffles to go into the non-for-profits. So this year we have Mule Deer Foundation. They were actually our partner as well last year, and we go and support with them. Tamarack, we actually support, and we've done it for many years. And luckily the shooters have shown up and they've helped raise a bunch of money, but we do Outfitters for Hope. So that's an organization that takes mainly kids, but also adults that have life-threatening illnesses, and their last dream wish to do on this earth is to go and do a hunt. So they take them out and put them on hunts, and obviously that costs some money, so we help raise that money for them.
Again, you're listening to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. We're talking to TJ about the Hoyt Archery Northwest Mountain Challenge, taking place June 27th through the 29th at Tamarack in Idaho, July 11th through the 13th at Hoodoo in Central Oregon, and July 25th through the 27th at Stevens Pass. Go ahead and break down for me exactly how the main competition works. I presume this is a 3D archery course, and I'm guessing it's based on time and accuracy.
Yeah, so it is. It is not really based on time, and you have to have your scorecards turned in by a certain time, but we do flight you per your class, so we have different classifications depending on what kind of equipment you're using for your bows. So we have open class, bow hunter class, you kind of name it. It kind of goes down the list, but you will get flighted in the mornings, and the competition goes out, and we have a course fully reserved for competition, so you don't have any fun shooters getting mixed in, and we want everyone to have a good clean flow all the way through. And usually you're going to get about groups of 4 or 6 shooters, and then you're going to go out and shoot with other people in that class. So the first day we have what's called the IBO. So the IBO competition is IBO scoring on the 3D animals. After that, the second day, which is Sunday, is really cool because we actually will take your scores and we will actually regroup you in with the people that you're shooting similar scores with.
Now, let me back up. For our listeners who don't know, including me, what does IBO stand for?
International Bow Hunting Association. So that is the international scoring system that they use on the target. So you have let's say an elk target, you have anywhere that on the body is considered 5 points. And then you have an outer ring on that is going to consider 8 points. And then the ring inside of that in the vitals is now a 10 point. And then we also score 11s, which is basically your bullseye. So that is IBO scoring. And Sunday is a different scoring system.
Okay, so Sunday, you're paired with people that have shot similar to you. And how does that work on Sunday?
Correct. So Sunday, it really gets competitive because now we go into, it's a big game. So it's called OPA shooting. So OPA is you have colors now that are on the targets. And it's a game because you have like a 14 ring, which is pink, and that's up outside of the bullseye area. And so if you want to go for a 14, that's the highest score, you're kind of gambling. So you can miss and get a 5, but let's say you shank it and let's say you hit a bullseye, but because you called the 14, you can't get anything higher than an 8.
Oh, there is some gamesmanship to this. I like it. Now, what does it cost to attend? And after you tell me that, tell me about the payouts for the champions.
Yeah. So the cost to attend is something that I actually hold near and dear. It's something that we try really hard to do is not have a bunch of money go out to our shooters because we want to have a lot of shooters to come out. So we really pride ourselves on this. So the 3-day event, if you want to come out and do 3 days, it's only $80.
That is fantastic. Now, obviously, food's on your own, camping's on your own and all that, but $80, what a bargain for the 3-day event.
Well, yes, and camping actually, for the most part, on every mountain is free. So we actually cover the camping, especially at Camp Tamarack. We actually foot the bill so our shooters can come up and camp for free.
Well, if you're an archer, folks, this is a great opportunity. We should mention shooter payouts. I understand over the course of all the events, you got over $10,000 in shooter payouts?
Correct. And sometimes it's even more than that, to be honest with you. So it just kind of depends. The shooter payouts, when you shoot competitively, you have a $40 entry fee for the competition. That goes straight back to the shooter. So depending on what we have for competition-wise, and then also in some of the classes like the open classes, we will actually put some of our money into that to boost that payout as well. So we've had families come up and the husband won, the wife won in their class, and the child won, and they came through the whole weekend, and they as a family collected over $6,500.
Wow. That is amazing. We're going to have to wrap things up because the wind is starting to blow outside the Spokane Fair and Event Center, and you're probably catching that as we're recording this. But if you want to find out more and attend the Hoyt Archery Northwest Mountain Challenge, really easy website, nwmountainchallenge.com. That's nwmountainchallenge.com. No matter what's your ability, when it comes to archery, there's something here for you that's going to be all sorts of fun. You might just get hooked on the sport as well. Website again, nwmountainchallenge.com. Register today. TJ, thanks so much for sharing this with us today on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me, and we look forward to seeing you all up there.
Northeast Oregon's Wallowa County is the place to go for fun events. In January, it's the Eagle Cap Extreme Sled Dog Race. Chief Joseph Days in July boosts an incredible rodeo experience, and there's live music at the local venues all summer. Next comes the county fairs, followed by the Juniper Jam Music Festival, Hell's Canyon Mule Days, and the Oregon Alpine Fest. Finally, there's the Jingle Through the Joseph Holiday Bazaar and Parade. Find out more at wallacountychamber.com.
Next up on Northwestern Outdoors Radio, we've got audio for you recorded at the Bighorn Outdoor Adventure Show in Spokane. Now, this is put on by the Inland Northwest Wildlife Council. It's a big fundraiser for them to do some great work. And one of the things they do is they have a program called the Pheasant Chick Program. With us here to tell you more is Cassie Beckley. Cassie, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit about this Pheasant Chick Program.
So the Pheasant Chick Program is put on through the Inland Northwest Wildlife Council. We don't raise the chicks ourselves, but we work hand in hand with a local hatchery, and we get our day-old pheasant chicks. They are brought to the Wildlife Council, and then we distribute them out from there.
Now, I'm guessing your pheasants might cost a little bit less than what you're going to get from other breeders?
They do. They are at a substantial discount if you order them here through the Inland Northwest Wildlife Council, and if you can check out any of the hatchery websites, you'll notice the drastic difference in price.
So I'm just looking at the order form here. If you want a hen pheasant, it's only 75 cents for a chick. If you want a rooster, it's $3.50. A 50-50 mix is $2.75. Chucker, $2.50. What is a melanistic chick?
So the melanistic chicks, those are the pheasants that show up. They're a lot darker. They kind of have like a green sheen almost to their feathers. They're very, very interesting birds. If you can see them out in the wild, it's a pretty big treat. So a lot of people like to try to get the melanistic roosters just so that they have some variety in their colors. Plus, who doesn't like interesting feathers on their birds?
Absolutely. Now, you're selling feed bags for $35. I presume this is the feed you're feeding the chicks.
Yes, we get that from a local feed granary, and it is a very finely ground, high-protein mix for the pheasants. It's made specifically for the pheasant chicks, so it's really, really finely ground. It has all the nutrients and all the vitamins that they need, and that much higher protein that pheasants need instead of chickens.
So, having never raised chickens, let alone pheasants, before, I've got a backyard. How do I go about doing it?
So if you've never raised pheasant chicks before, there is a lot of information on the internet as far as raising chickens go. Pheasants are kind of the same way. They're just a little bit more heat sensitive, so they need a little bit more heat than a chicken. So if your heat lamp is a little bit closer, the brooder plates that a lot of people use because there is a less chance of a fire hazard when you use those heater plates, they're basically just a little bit closer to the ground so the tiny chicks can stay warmer.
How do I build this contraption? Is it like a chicken coop?
For the baby pheasants, it's a little bit different than the chicken coop. So when you first get your chicks, you're going to want it's called a brooder. And basically a lot of people build a brooder out of like a livestock watering container. And then they put chicken wire over the top of it to keep the birds in, because pheasants will fly out a lot quicker than a chicken would. They get their little flight feathers and they want to hop out. So that does need a lid on the top of it. And it also keeps if you're choosing to use the heat lamp, it'll keep the heat lamp from falling and causing a fire hazard. You line the bottom with larger shavings that you can get from like Tractor Supply or wherever, and then they just need their food and some water and they're good to go.
I love it. How long until you release them?
So we recommend 14 weeks for releasing the pheasant chicks. It gives them time to get fully feathered out and keep themselves warm, and then they are also able to look and find their own food at that time. And 14 weeks is about at that age that they're not quite fighting amongst each other as frequently. The older they are, the more prone they are to fighting each other. So 14 weeks is where we recommend the release date for the pheasants.
Cassie, I can tell you've done this whole thing about raising pheasants before, haven't you?
I have, actually. I've raised quite a bit of pheasants and released them on my property up in Newport quite frequently.
So here's a question. Way back in the day, Department of Fish and Wildlife and even some of the breeders, they would do some things to kind of train the pheasants chicks to be scared so they weren't as prone to getting killed right off the bat by coyotes or hawks or owls or whatever. You know, what would you recommend folks do that are raising these chicks?
So for a little bit of predator proofing goes a long way. So if you've got any type of electro netting for your birds, that helps. It's not necessary though, because the birds actually have a pretty good instinct of getting away from these predators. But a lot of people will still set up decoys. They've got eagles, they've got owls, all kinds of different decoys to keep other predators like hawks from coming in and taking your birds. Any type of coyote decoy might help keep other coyotes away as well.
All right. The people that are involved in this program, are they people that just have a backyard that they're releasing them into a wildlife area, or are they people that basically own some land and they're releasing them on their own land, or what?
We've got both, actually. We've got several people that like raising the chicks that live in the middle of town that raise them, and then they take them out to county property. And there are a few state-designated lands that you can release these birds on. The Wildlife Council can actually help you locate where a good release site would be. But I think most people do tend to release them just on their own property because they want to have the birds, for years to come.
Right. Plus, if you're a hunter, the opportunity to harvest them.
Exactly.
All right. Sounds like a great program the Inland Northwest Wildlife Council is doing. If you want to find out more and order some chicks, the website to go to is inwc.org. That's inwc.org for the Inland Northwest Wildlife Council. Cassie, thanks for sharing this with us today on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Thank you, sir. I was happy to be here.
Next on Northwestern Outdoors Radio, we've got my old friend Dave Calhoun on the line. He is the owner of Northwest Rods. He's been a rod maker for a long time, and he built some really good ones for all sorts of different species. Dave, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So, we've talked a lot of times before. You used to be based in Kalama, Washington. You made a move to Idaho, though, didn't you?
I did, for a couple reasons. It's much more friendly to the small business, and being that I am one of the only American-made rod companies left, they love us over there.
And when you're talking American-made rod companies, are you talking start to finish?
Yes, from the blanks that we build, we have a factory that's still in Woodland, Washington, which, as most people know, is kind of the capital of fishing rods. But our blanks are still made in Woodland, so they're American-made. And then the rod from beginning to end is built with American products, American handles. Some of the colors that we use are specific to our company, but we want to keep everything American-made.
You've always run really lean, but you've put out a really good quality product. How many people work for you, or is it just you?
At this point, it's just me. In Kalama, we had outwrappers, which most of the larger companies do, and the plan was to grow and be a big company. And we've changed gears because we've seen what's happened to some of the bigger companies who either grow too fast, they like to fake it till they make it, and they overextend themselves, and then they have a huge crew. And with COVID happening and things that have happened in the environment and the economy, you had to be lean to survive. And some of those companies didn't survive. So by staying small and now moving to Idaho, owning our property, cutting our costs down, we were able to survive all that. And now we're flourishing that we build an American-made product in a property we own.
All very good reasons for the move you just made, that's for sure. And we're not going to name names of the dead companies. That just wouldn't be very nice. But you're right, there's quite a few that did not make it through COVID. So let's talk about some of your best sellers.
Well, right now we've been pushing our Northwest Fly. I've been building fly rods for over 20 years, but on the west side, we just don't use those as much.
Yeah, everybody wants a kokanee or a salmon or a steelhead rod there.
Right, and we still have those. Well, what I found is the guys that we used to build downrigger rods for the Puget Sound fisheries, now we're making the same exact rod for the Pend d'Oreille fishery. And those big fish, those Kamloops rainbows they have over there. So we've switched gears a little bit, but we've diversified with more walleye and bass stuff. We've taken way more fly rod orders since we've been over in Idaho. We've been over there now 3 years. So we kind of changed gears because we've lost our salmon and steelhead fisheries that we used to have. And so I'm replacing those with new fisheries, new rods, and sometimes it's the same blank with a new label on it for a different fishery. And so it's been great for us.
What's the price point of your rods?
So we have start price is $75 for our American-made kokanee rods.
Wow, because you look at some companies, it starts with an E and ends with an E. You're not going to find that.
Right, and made in our factory with American-made products. So $75 is our show special for the Spokane show. We do that at Portland and all the different shows, all the way up to, I think, our most expensive rod. Some of our two-hand switch spay fly rods are going to be in the $400 to $500 range, which, there again, our competitors are $700, $800, sometimes $1,000 for the same product. And we've got carbon fiber handles, stainless steel guides. We've upgraded the components instead of just using the same old cork stuff, which we do. We're one of the only companies that still makes American blanks with cork. But to offer a higher-end product with less cost is huge.
I know a lot of our listeners at this point are wondering, where can I get my hands on Dave Calhoun's Northwest rods?
NW Rods or NWFly.com. So we have both of our Facebook pages up also. And then you can just look us up online, call us up, tell me what you want, and I can give you a price. And we're going to build customs, which is something I didn't do in the past. Part of this Idaho thing is able to slow down and really build a high-end quality rod. And if you've got something you want to do custom, I'm your guy.
Sounds like a great opportunity for a quality rod, whether you're after a spinning rod or whether you're after a fly rod. Just go to nwrods.com or nwfly.com. Check out the lineup, order today, and be a happy angler. Dave, always a pleasure to catch up with you on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Thanks for having me, pal.
Targeting kokanee? Then tie on a double whammy kokanee pro from Max Lure. Built like the tried and true wedding ring spinner, the double whammy kokanee pro has a double hook tie, high VU beads, a wedding ring band, and an ultralight smile blade. It's the perfect lure to fish at any time of the year and shines in the early season when water temps are cold and you're trolling at a slow speed. Look for the double whammy kokanee pro at a sporting goods store or online at maxlure.com.
Northeast Oregon's Wallowa County is the place to go for fun events. In January, it's the Eagle Cap Extreme Sled Dog Race. Chief Joseph Days in July boosts an incredible rodeo experience, and there's live music at the local venues all summer. Next comes the county fairs, followed by the Juniper Jam Music Festival, Halls Canyon Mule Days, and the Oregon Alpine Fest. Finally, there's the Jingle Through the Joseph Holiday Bazaar and Parade. Find out more at wallawacountychamber.com.
Did you know we actually have a sponsorship opportunity available for this show? That's right. You can be a sponsor of Northwestern Outdoors Radio, reaching thousands of listeners every week, tuning in to 69 stations in 7 states. If you have a business that caters to outdoors enthusiasts, this is the platform for you, and you're going to find it's much more affordable than you think. Contact me through my website at northwesternoutdoors.com, and let's get a conversation started. That's northwesternoutdoors.com.
Go fishing, help salmon, and make money. You can do it through September 30th by catching northern pike minnow and turning them in for cash. Here's how it works. First, register at a designated station on the Columbia or Snake River. Then, go fishing. At the end of the day, turn in any pike minnow you catch 9 inches or longer and look for the ones with tags worth $500. You'll get vouchers for those pike minnow you turn in, and you mail those in for cash. Find out more at pikeminnow.org.
Frustrated with high prices and stingy possession limits at Alaska lodges? Well, come to beautiful Haida Gwaii in British Columbia, where you can bring home more Chinook salmon for less money thanks to a generous exchange rate between Canadian and American dollars. Stay in our beautiful lodge and enjoy guided fishing for 3 or 4 days, where we'll target Chinook and coho salmon, as well as halibut, lingcod, rockfish, and tuna. Book today at hgsportfishing.com. That's hgsportfishing.com.
BirdNote is proud to share its storytelling with fans of Northwestern Outdoors Radio. You can help inspire more people to care about the natural world by making a tax-deductible donation at birdnote.org. Support BirdNote today with a gift of any amount at birdnote.org.
Before we go today, we've got time for one last shot of Northwestern Outdoors Radio with your host, John Kruse.
I'm glad you're back because it's time to preview some things that are coming up in the next couple of weeks. From Northwest Sportsman Magazine, a reminder that new fishing and hunting licenses are required in Washington after March 31st. The opening day of the spring black bear hunts in select Idaho and all controlled Oregon units kicks off April 1st. In Washington, it's Youth Turkey Hunting Week from April 1st to the 7th. And the Blackmouth Opener is happening in Marine Areas 10 and 11. That's in Puget Sound near Seattle. Open Wednesdays through Saturdays only. A Halibut Opener opens up on the 3rd in Washington, Marine Areas 5 through 10. And April 8th through the 14th is the Youth Turkey Hunting Week in Idaho. Finally, the weekend of the 11th through the 13th is the 48th Annual Oregon Knife Show at the Lane Event Center in Eugene, and the 12th and 13th is the annual Gold Show that takes place at the Chelan County Fairgrounds in Kashmir, Washington. So there you go, plenty of things to do as we enter the month of April. If you didn't get to hear the whole show today, we will be uploading it as a podcast in the days ahead. Just look for Northwestern Outdoors Radio wherever you consume your podcasts, and check out our sister show too, America Outdoors Radio. And on that note, it is time to go. So until next time, do take care, God bless, and make it a point to spend some time outdoors.